Good morning, afternoon, or evening, ladies and gentlemen, all in crypto here, and welcome back, guys, for another daily cryptocurrency market update. Hopefully, you're all having a happy Monday. For those of you that are new around here, every single day at 1 p.m., we release a daily market update where we don't just look at the cryptocurrency space technically and internally in regards to news flows and so on, but we look further afield and we try and work out in relation to other markets, the macro environment, where this small but exceptionally significant space is heading. And that's exactly what we're going to be doing in this video. We're going to start things off by looking at the beloved Wall Street cheat sheet, which maps out not only a kind of fractal of price structure, but also a fractal of emotions. And we're going to compare this to the total 3, which is the total market cap of the cryptocurrency space, excluding Bitcoin and Ethereum. And what you'll find is very interesting. We did, if I do say so myself, a absolutely fantastic weekly meeting with the patrons yesterday. For those of you that are interested in taking your crypto investment journey to the next level, please do consider joining the Patreon. Trial it out for a month. If it's not for you, then you can always cancel your membership, but we have a very high retention rate. And yesterday's meeting was an important one where we really looked at altcoins, we looked at where they're at, and we also did bring up the Wall Street cheat sheet in relation to the total 2, potentially suggesting the structure that we're seeing in the altcoin market is likely to come to fruition. We've, of course, looked at Bitcoin. We think we've got that very right, the macro environment very right, certainly for the past nearly 7 months now, and we think we're going to continue to do so. But we are going to be looking at the Wall Street cheat sheet. We're going to be looking at some internal crypto news, like the fact that Bitcoin futures ETF racks up the biggest weekly inflows in a year, very suggestive. We'll talk about a number of other things, like the world's 4th largest country in terms of populace setting its eyes on becoming a crypto capital. Remember, we looked at in yesterday's video 3 countries: the Turkish lira or Turkey, the Lebanese pound, and the Argentinian peso, and the Venezuelan, is it a peso, that Bitcoin had gone on to make new all-time highs against. Bitcoin has been a huge success as a hedge against the kind of failings of government. We're going to be talking about the Fed. We're going to be talking about the FedNow a little bit. Talking about how the Fed came out and said uncertainty over digital assets trap institutions in supervisory void. BlackRock and what they're doing are a big sort of way in fixing this. And we have seen, again, record or the biggest influx in terms of the futures ETF contracts in over a year, which is very suggestive with what BlackRock are doing. Then we'll look at a number of other things, and we'll talk about how the stock market, Gary Gensler came out recently and said there's some issues with the stock market in regards to order flows and things like this. We'll talk about Robinhood and how they do business and how they basically sell order flows to people like Citadel. And ultimately, this is how they make their money, but this is kind of why people's principles like ICT, who has a whole trading strategy based on fair value gaps, this is why their principles work, because markets are very much manipulated, certainly in terms of order flows and liquidity hunting. So we'll talk about that towards the end, but let's not waste any more time, guys. Let's kick things off with the Wall Street cheat sheet and our analysis of total 3, and then we'll move on to Bitcoin and then cover some of the internal news within the crypto space. This is one thing that I showed in my weekly meeting yesterday with my patrons. And we were looking at the Wall Street cheat sheet, which not only maps out a price fractal, which you'll see play out in many markets, but also an emotional kind of pathway or roller coaster that markets go on. And where are we today? Well, this, of course, is the total 3. And this is the Wall Street cheat sheet. And you can see, it's my belief that you are now coming out of depression and going to be in disbelief very, very soon. That's likely going to align with Bitcoin going on and pushing up towards 41,000, the stock market continuing to do well, and gold on the precipice of new all-time highs. We have got this macro environment very right for the past longer than 7 months, because ultimately you guys know we were out the market in 2022, which was a good call, mitigated a lot of the damage when others ate it, and then decided to get back in January, which lows are still intact in regards to the total 3. Certain altcoins did come down and put in a marginally lower low, which is very telling within itself. But ultimately, we are still exceptionally positive on the crypto space, and we do not agree with the bears, more so on timing than anything else. We do think a shitstorm is coming, but it's later on down the line. We've looked at a number of things that suggest this. The macro kind of driver of interest rates, which we've called very accurately. Ultimately, we think there's a period of time before something takes place. So this is very interesting. I personally think that you made your low of the cycle for the majority of the markets generally back in January, and then we got in shortly after, and ultimately this is just a almost double bottom scenario that's playing out for the altcoins, whilst you have the likes of Bitcoin that are setting up exceptionally healthy structure that looks very akin to how you merge from a downtrend into an uptrend. And we looked, before we'd even had this inverse head and shoulders, we were literally one of the first people to get back into the market. And then we've had head and shoulders, which of course loads of people are calling now. More people are catching up to it now that we've, a long way along that journey. And ultimately, we've just set up good structure ever since. You've got a bull flag, whether you want to draw it from 15K or whether you want to draw it from the right shoulder, gives you two different targets. Of course, this target from the right shoulder does take you into your inverse head and shoulders target, which is 41, 43K-ish, which coincides with a load of resistance. So this is an area that Bitcoin is heading to. What are your altcoins going to do? Well, we think they're going to do quite well and actually play catch up overzealously. And ultimately, I found this very interesting and potentially useful. This does absolutely play out time and time again across a number of markets. And please go and check me out on Twitter. @RealAllInCrypto is my ticker. And come and look at this for yourself. We'll pull the Wall Street cheat sheet up. And of course, look at it in relation to the total 3. You can see in regards to total 2, you're definitely further ahead. And then, of course, total, which has Bitcoin in it, which has done very well. Bitcoin's always the leader. There's always a narrative in regards to Bitcoin. Every single time Bitcoin moves and leads the market, which is still that tide that rises and sinks all ships, everyone goes, see, everything's a shitcoin. And then, all of a sudden, altcoins massively outperform Bitcoin. And we're very much banking on that to take place again. So everything looks healthy, guys. Bitcoin at the 30K resistance still. It may want to pull back or sort of consolidate for a bit before then pushing on those high levels. You do potentially have the downdraft of the stock market, which has done absolutely beautifully. It's had a bit of a pullback, but we're ultimately expecting all-time highs for the stock market. People have been calling us crazy on that call really since October, December. However, it's done exceptionally well, and we've got targets to take us there. We've used Microsoft as our kind of poster boy, and ultimately, Bitcoin is even following this pretty closely. You've got similar structure here across the board. But we will see. And actually talking about Microsoft and talking about what the total 3 is doing, you've got a low, second low, and it kind of puts in this double bottom scenario, which you can see present on many, many altcoins. So Altseason will come. You got gold on the precipice of all-time highs. Again, a bull flag taking you to around about $2,900. What do you think crypto does during that time period? What do you think crypto does if the stock market's going to new all-time highs? We do assess that the cryptocurrency market has broken out of its downtrend, not only against the SPY, but also gold. Very interesting what we're seeing across the board technically. We have a very positive outlook, and we've had it for a while, and more people are now catching up to this. After really getting things wrong for the past 7 months in regards to the Bears got very lucky with Gensler coming out and doing what he's done, but I actually think that, and it might be hard to see it now, that everything going on with the regulatory kind of nightmare and persecution will actually come out in the crypto space's favor. We certainly think XRP, Ripple, Brad and Chris are going to win the lawsuit, and I think that shines a positive light on the space in general. Now on to a little bit of crypto specific news. ProShares Bitcoin Futures ETF racks up the biggest weekly inflow in a year. Very, very interesting. We'll see what CoinShares' products comes out with. Is it today they come out with their report? Probably going to suggest a similar thing. Ultimately, this is very telling of the environment. We know BlackRock, we know everyone has now filed for Bitcoin ETFs. You've got Indonesia, world's 4th largest populous country, sets eyes on becoming a crypto hub within Asia. Absolutely robust and receptive regulatory support from government. This is what they need. We're going to do a video on my own personal thoughts on actually why The US dollar needs crypto. How ironic is that I'm saying that? The US dollar needs crypto. Well, I believe it does in regards to further its position as the world reserve currency. If they can successfully, what is the most traded currency within the crypto markets? USDT. We use it ourselves for trading. If they could have their own crypto in there that they control, think of the hundreds of billions, potentially trillions, of demand that gets used there, that's directly impacting the world reserve currency, the dollar, and so on and so forth. Kind of bullshit, but we'll do a whole video on that. But yeah, the entire world is moving towards crypto, guys. We've been so right on this from the start in regards to really understanding what's going on here, really understanding from a tech point of view, from a revolutionary and social point of view, and ultimately we keep getting confirmation the further along we go with this. So uncertainty over digital assets trap institutions in supervisory void. This is from one of the Fed governors. You've had a number of things like the IMF come out and say just banning crypto isn't going to work. Economic freedom remains an important measure of every country's potential for growth and prosperity, and increasing economic freedom is Coinbase's mission. The US, unfortunately, has fallen in economic freedom ranking over the years. And you can see we once ranked 4th, and now they're 25th. Just my personal take, I think the democracies that we have in the West are dictatorships disguised as democracies. But that is for another video. We've got the FedNow system going live on the 1st of July. This is from Coin Bureau. Coin Bureau makes some absolutely brilliant content, by the way. One of my go-tos. I think entertaining, informative, and everything else. But this is interesting. And this is, again, potentially Gensler might be stalling for the rollout of CBDCs and the introduction of an actual Fed-backed US dollar stablecoin to enter and dominate the cryptocurrency market. If you had the choice between trading Tether or a government-backed stablecoin, what are you going to choose? So this was something interesting. The United States stock market is rigged. Head of the SEC, Gensler, confirms 90 to 95% of orders do not count anymore for pricing. We no longer have a market because nothing you do matters. Supply and demand doesn't exist. Short sellers have found a way to make sure they never lose by running everyone's orders through dark pools, so they no longer impact the price. Normally, the more buyers a stock has, more buy pressure the price goes up, vice versa, sell pressure. Short sellers lose money if the stocks they are shorting increases in price. So Bernie Madoff created a scam called payments for order flows, which lets them route everyone's orders off exchange through dark pools, and these orders no longer count to pricing, so price can never increase. This ensures they can never lose. They are abusing the system so bad that 90 to 95% of orders do not count to pricing. Gensler confirmed this on national television a few days ago. The worst offenders of this is, of course, Ken Griffin of Citadel, who is posting profits never before seen in history, robbing the world with this scam, so on and so forth. So I was going to play this clip, but very shortly, if you trade on Robinhood, you'll notice that they don't offer fees for trading. So how does a company like that make its money? Well, what it does is it takes all the orders and it sells them to a third party that will execute those orders, often off market. Behind closed doors, they'll provide stocks that they have, and they'll make a margin with a slippage or whatever it is, and then they'll execute that, and then they'll go and buy back at a more of an appropriate time. So you've got what should just be a participants and market trade that now has a third party nightmare involved with it that can basically manipulate all those orders and control them. DeFi fixes this, because you can't do this sort of stuff with on-chain. And ultimately, crypto really does solve so many problems far and wide. And just like the internet, when the internet first came out, you would never have envisioned that we'd all be sat on Twitter liking cat memes. The weird and wonderful ways that blockchain and the serious ways that blockchain is going to impact the world are still yet to be seen. And on that note, I am going to love and leave you. It is a bright future ahead of us, guys. Let me know what you've thought about the content in the comment section. And if you've enjoyed the content, a like is always appreciated. So as a comment, don't forget to hit that subscribe button, click that notification bell, and I'll catch you all in the next one. Thanks all for watching, guys. See you in the next.